Welcome back, Charles. How are you today?
I'm great. I've been a little bit tired, but I think that's partly because of the change in temperature. But uh, Knowing that I'm going to meet you has inspired me to wake up and focus on something esoteric. What I really want to be doing instead of the 9 to 5. But, yeah.
So tell everybody what your 9 to 5 is.
I am actually a teacher.
Hmm.
I teach English to children of various ages, all the way from like young learners that are beginning to learn English as a second language here in Taiwan, and then I actually have a lot of students that I've been teaching for like over 7, 8 years, and even when they go to university, they still come back to my classes in a private school, and it's really great to see them grow up and get older and start to question things and
Do you think you'll always be there? Do you think that that is where you're supposed to be, Taiwan, and you'll see your days out there?
I don't know. I do sometimes have like feelings that I would like to maybe relocate and start again and try to like learn like another culture. And then other times I think as you get older you start to think, oh, maybe I should just stop this and go live with my mom or something and try to kind of,
Where
because as
is
she
your
gets
mum? Because
older. Yeah, my
you
mom actually
started out in
lives in.
Germany, didn't you?
Yes, I started out in Germany. That's where I was born, and but I moved to England when I was quite young, and I lived in England like 20 years roughly. And so my mom's still there. Most of my family is actually there. My extended family, like grandparents, are actually in Germany. So yeah, it's like an international family. So
Do you ever
so
come back over here? Do you ever come back to England?
yeah. I mean, I haven't been to England for for quite a few years, but I visited my grandma recently, and it is quite a long flight. It's like
Hmm.
17 hours. It's it's quite a trek. And then I would take my wife and my daughter with me, obviously. So it's yeah. But yeah, there is it is. I mean, that is the downside of it. Like, there's two sides to it. But if I lived back in the West, then my wife would be going through the same kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, we did live in the UK for a few years together, but a lot of things are actually easier in Taiwan, like especially like economically, like trying to, yeah, just living expenses, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine it's out of
Yeah.
control here. A lot of people are
Yes, yeah. I mean,
struggling.
that's what I'm told. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, last time you were on, we were talking about symbolism, and also we were looking at the connections with Freemasonry in
Yes.
particular on our
Yeah.
last chat. But you've expanded. You're continuing to research symbology much deeper now. So
Yes.
what have you been looking at? What have you been really focusing on recently?
Oh, well, I've been focusing on three different things. The Rothschilds and the evolution of that family, and then the Rothschilds' investment in the Rockefeller Financial Services. Then I've looked at the renaming of important industrial achievements and like for example that the Mauritania being renamed as the Titanic and trying to prove that it's the same ship. And then That also is connected to the Rothschilds because some of the main bankers of the Black Wall Street were actually died on the Titanic.
Hmm.
So there were a large number of very prominent Moorish businessmen that were, building the American Moorish economy, which was a big issue for some of these sort of colonial investors. But even the colonial, like when you say colonial. everyone seems to be colonial because after the 1700s, 1770s, there wasn't really any Native Americans. I no longer believe that the Moors were the Native Americans, and I also have changed my opinion on a few things, and I've continued with that research. The Rockefeller, Rothschild families, this kind of owning of America as a business. America is not a country as the UK is, or as maybe Sweden or Belgium is, or Norway. America is a corporation. It's a corporation, and I think every person that is born in America has a strawman contract. They are born. They are lost at sea and then they are brought to land. And and I don't know what empire exactly manages that at the moment, but that's one of my lines of research. Um, Also the star, trying to understand where the star originates. The idea of the star, does it have anything to do with the fallen angels or the stars we see in our constellations in the sky? And its connection to the Merkaba and how the star became this kind of satanic symbol now, which is basically what it is. And why has that become satanic? Because 666 became satanic. That's the ingredient of human carbon that became satanic, and now I believe that this ultimate cheat code is the Merkaba. That is a visualization of that Atlantean knowledge, the Atlantean Tartarian knowledge. So as we know, the Russian imperial sigil is the man on a horse killing the Tartarian dragon, and that is also inside that star. And then we have the Star of David symbolism. And then I found just recently this behind me, which is the British. This is the symbol that the Queen has been wearing for like many years, and previous kings, where you have that symbol of the angel standing on the head of the Moor. Can you see that?
Yes.
And I think that's the same as the Russian killing the Tartarian dragon. So
Yeah.
I believe now I've changed my mind a little bit because I've done so much research on the lineage of the Normans that I think the Normans were the Moors, and this is the Norman conquest, basically. So the Tartarians are therefore also the Moors, it looks like.
Yes.
Uh, so when we say Tartar, we might as well say Moor. So Moor Aryan, Mauryan. So the island, the continent of Mu was at Atlantis. It was flooded, and then these advanced empires ended up spreading throughout Australia, America, Africa, Europe. Yeah, yeah.
We see
So
that with RH, don't we? The RH negative bloodline,
yes, the
where
blood, the
yeah,
bloodline. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
where it goes from what appears to be where
Mhm.
Atlantis was, and then a lot of it goes to a certain part of Africa. It goes to the Basque region, and then we've also got it going to sort of Northern Europe and Scotland as well.
Yeah. Yes, I mean time was no longer linear for the Moor. The Moors or the Moors which is what we should call the Moors, um, is time was not linear. So they didn't age because of that. So if your brain doesn't accept the concept of time, you won't age. Like if you're this NPC person, there is a switch that's turned off. If you understand this symbolism, that's how you turn on your switch. So it's basically just sitting in a room thinking about what you want to do. So it's quiet, it's peace, which we are not allowed to have because everything's coming at us from all sides. Peripheral vision, we have things coming at us from all sides. It'll be very hard for you, I think, to just sit quietly in a room. In fact, I think the average human being would die if there was no sound. We've become that reliant on sound, food, death rituals, eating meat, right? None of this was an issue for a Tartarian or a Moor because these people didn't even eat. So there was a sun connection that
Yes.
we maybe the melanin allowed for the sun, the electromagnetic,
Yeah.
connection. So
The
electricity
darker
is
the skin,
sunlight.
the darker the
Yeah.
skin, the more effective that is.
The more melanin you have. And I think
Absolutely.
melanin
Mm.
is the real valuable entity, the real valuable thing in this world. And it's mirrored in the animals, it's mirrored in everything. It's mirrored in even how airships were powered. And this has been my biggest thing really this year, which has actually only been a month. But a lot happens once you know where you're going. So
Mm.
um, I think they were using this red mercury, which is now again being hidden from the internet. I used to find that all over the internet. Now it's hard to find again. Just like the Tartarian maps, they started to remove those, and now we have to put them back ourselves. You see. So I just sometimes it just blows my mind how many things must have been hidden to stop
Yes.
us understanding that.
Yes. And the
And
people that
but
have
I found a
died,
BBC program on it
the
from
people that have died as well, Charles, that
yeah.
for having this information. I've been looking into Red
Yes.
Terror, the Red
Yeah.
Terror period in Russia, where people were
Red Scare, they
silenced.
called it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, people
It's
were,
fascinating.
taken
Mm.
away. They were killed. And I sort of uncovered one particular person who, his first name was Mikolov, that was taken. His father was taken away, and
Mm.
because he had blueprints of how one of these particular buildings were constructed, and it had the golden ratio and the silver ratio all over it. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
took this information home. His son mentioned it to somebody. Within a couple of days, he's he literally he's arrested. All the paperwork is taken away, and he died in transit to the prison. And they,
Mm.
the people that have lost
Yeah.
their lives because they had this information, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I understand why they would risk it all for this because it is to be vindicated, I think, in your theories. Imagine going to the door that you were trying to find. Like, let's say you know your life was manipulated by some higher entity, right? To some extent, you were put on this course, like a labyrinth. And you know the Minotaur is on the other side. You know it's going to be a near-death experience. But what is worse? Opening the door, realizing the Minotaur is actually trying to help you, or is your friend, or is actually just a myth. It's just the name of the king and the Taurus field, and it's just electricity, it's just energy, right? But at the same time, never opening the door, turning around and going back where you came from. Now, can someone do that? It's like going to my Mount Zion. God is about to give you the tablets, and you say, no, 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 I can't do it. Sorry, it's like it goes against like human nature because I mean you're going to spend your whole life thinking I never tried to build this machine or I never tried to find out exactly what's going on here. Why am I having these dreams, these thoughts, these visions, these deja vus? Why do I feel like I belong somewhere where there's absolutely no reason to believe you should be there or you should be comfortable there or you should see what you're looking at there. And and I do this all the time. This happens to me quite regularly. And I completely see why a Russian scientist would not give up, want to find the truth and be determined to find the truth. And yes, I mean, there are so many things that I know now that I found this truth, I can't talk about it. Like I can't talk about where keys come from. I can't talk about it because if I was to tell somebody else, then what do I have once they really do try to gang stalk you or come for you or steal your research or something? You know what I
Yes.
mean? You have to have something. I have to have a few things, and I have those. Actually, I have more things that I can't talk about than things that I can. So, like some things are just something like, for example, um, uh, the way they grow very fine crystal. within petri dishes. They grow it like organic matter. It doesn't exist until they grow it. And they can't even make a patent for it. Because if you make a patent for it, that means there is a chance another human being will read it one day. And I think the great inventions of Tesla were never patented because that's too dangerous. Once it's patented, someone can go into the patent office, it can get lost,
Yes.
and I start to
Mm.
understand why a lot of these secret societies don't write things down because because once it's written down, it can be taken, it can be stolen. And yeah.
I can reinforce that, Charles, because when I joined the
Mm.
Freemasons, obviously most people know that I joined and obviously don't go anymore. But when I joined, one of the first things they told me was to not write anything down. I mustn't write
Yeah,
anything
I get
down
that. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And you can see, like you quite rightly said, you can see why.
I can completely see why. But I think that to some extent writing things down does reinforce it. Maybe then
Yeah.
you can destroy the notebook once you've started writing it. But the physical action of just holding a pen, because your pen is your wand, and you'll see a wand everywhere. I've seen these on like the outside of libraries. There's wands. The Queen of England had a wand broken during her funeral because that was the end of her sort of reign as a magician. So yeah, we're no longer talking about the monarchs that built the empire. We are definitely talking now about a Rothschild empire. And I would like to see whether or not Britain is in the same situation that America is, that it is actually a corporation now, not a con
Oh,
not
it
a
absolutely is.
yeah,
The
yeah,
United Kingdom is a construct.
yeah,
It's just a concept. It's a document. I live
mm,
on England. I don't obviously live in England because I'd have to dig down into the ground. I live on the
yeah,
land that is called England because someone named it that. But the United Kingdom, which is really the city of London, which is, as you know, sort of outside of the UK jurisdiction,
mm.
which is quite strange,
Yes.
isn't it? But yes, the UK is a legal fiction, and we are all subjects of that. We're all employees, if you like, of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I heard that was or the city of London doesn't go under the jurisdiction of the UK, but it does have its own policing, its
Yes.
own police service, and it was set up by the Count of Orange, I believe. Yeah, and the jewelry quarter used to be called the Jewelry Quarter, and they just switched the name a little bit to make it look like it was about jewelry because that was one of the main
Mm.
trade sort of a business ventures of the Jews that were brought in. I don't know where the Jews came from that were brought into the city of London, but yeah, they did create their own fiefdom, like a financial arm of this one world government. And yeah, I still haven't disproved the theory that we are still ruled by the Moor. Yeah, so that is following me around, and it sort of won't go away. But yeah, most people don't realize that the behind me that star is this sort of angel, this angelic man, which is Caucasian, obviously, which has got his foot on a black slave. So even today, the symbolism is still everywhere, and I don't know why it's still there in 2026. But I think even Queen Elizabeth wore this. It was part of these kind of old traditions. I don't know if the royals actually look at all of these symbols,
Have you
but
ever
yeah,
sort of heard the theory, and this is something I've spoken about, that the crown jewels themselves aren't quite what we've been told, and that it's something that
mm,
I'd heard about it, quite a bit over the years, but I looked into it more closely about a year ago when we lost our dog Alfie, and
yes,
someone suggested actually having his ashes turned into a synthetic gemstone, and then we could,
yeah,
or a crystal, we could mount that on something, and then it dawned on me that that technology has probably been around for a very long time, and I wonder if the crown jewels each jewel represents the ashes of someone they have removed, a
Yeah.
a ruler of a continent or an empire that they have destroyed. And in the crown jewels are the synthetic, if you like, the synthetic gemstones created from the ashes of people that have fallen.
Yeah, yeah. So when you go to one of these ancient, like Tartarian Moorish temples, it could have been turned into like an insane asylum or anything. You will see the symbolism that answers every question you can have. Um, yeah. So there's a post I did actually the other day, earlier today, I think it was, and I was delving into that. I'm going to try to show you that, and just this was the Brooklyn Public Library. Public Library, right? And it's all connected to the concept that America is the real Africa. Uh,
Mm.
when I told you that that was just supposed to be a temporary project, but there is so much here that is uncovered now, especially with all the fires in America in the 1930s. There were like dozens of fires in the 1930s, and then for some reason people wrote into it this was a dynamite made the matter worse, or somehow dynamite was involved and made this more serious. I think they were just removing structures that they didn't need,
Yes.
to continue the narrative. Now this is very like this is a very serious thing because everyone was in on it, and I don't think it was an empire that was ruling. I think it was the beginning of that changeover. And I don't know where that power came from. The Moors must have been evil for that power to leave them and come to like another empire. So I'm not going to presume that just because all of these structures were destroyed that they were good, because if you look at the symbolism in these buildings, because this architecture is still there, most of it. you, it would take you hundreds of years to destroy cities with literally hundreds of thousands of buildings. So, so I think it's too slow, and there was no point doing it, but they still kept doing it. Maybe they enjoyed doing it. Maybe there was treasure to be found within the buildings. I mean, if they were covered in gold, like the Bible says, if this is a biblical time and we aren't that far from Jesus and
I
those
have a
biblical events.
I have a theory
Yeah.
on that actually. But you carry on. But I've
Yeah, I'm
actually
hoping
been
you
look.
tell me some of your theories because I'm very fascinated by one of your theories that there were people like booing one of your things when you were talking, which kind of made me think twice about publicly talking about my theories. But that's fine. I mean, if you look, I mean, you have to go first and you do it, and then more of us will follow. More of us will follow.
The
I was
I
thinking you're like the spearhead, not the guinea pig. Like you do it. You're there talking. People start saying that's racist. It's not. There's nothing racist about this. This is discovering your own ancestry. How is that racist? Yeah. And
so you're
but
talking
you are going to
about
have to deal with these people that are,
yeah. You're talking about
I'm kind of worried about you. Like you need some like a bodyguard or something.
yeah. You're talking about I was invited to London to give a talk on Tartaria.
Yeah.
And there was one particular person in the audience. She was a Spanish girl, I believe. And what she didn't like was the fact that, well, first of all, she came up to me and said that I was a Jew, and then walked off.
Ah,
Um, and then, yeah, so she started attacking me during the Q&A session at the end, and it was because I had said from all of my research when I look at the Cabbage Patch postcards, the work of Alice Guy, the orphan train movement, the incubator babies, all I am seeing. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, I know that um, a lot of First Nation, and a lot of the indigenous peoples were moved on the orphan trains all over the place. But what I was talking about was the Cabbage Patch babies, and that it
mm,
appears to have been Caucasian. And there's a brilliant example of this being demonstrated in Alice Guy's second movie, Midwife to the Upper Classes, where this couple, she offers them a black doll, it's a baby, it's a black baby. These are dolls at this particular part of the film. And the couple sort of shrug their shoulders and like, no, we don't want that. And then she offers them a white one, and they're like, oh, that's better. And you could see the racism within this. And also in the
Mm.
postcards, all we see are Caucasian or white babies. And I was saying, therefore, if we follow the theory that human cloning took place and these Cabbage Patch Baby postcards and so on, and the movies are all sort of hiding in plain sight that a mass human cloning program took place, they appear to be Caucasian, in which case you could say that a large number of the population were created by cloning white babies. And she said, that's racist. And I said, I'm not being racist. I'm not one of these people that is white and hates white people because of what other people have done through history, i.e., the British Empire. And I'm not sort of
Yeah.
hating myself or whatever. I'm sharing information that I found. I'm sharing my thoughts and my research. If you want to spin it into it being racist or wherever your angle's coming from, then you have an agenda that I don't happen to have. And then she came
Yeah.
up to me at the end and started having a go at me about, but everybody shut her down, which was really nice because all I was doing was sharing what I had found, and she didn't like
Yeah.
that. So I came away with the feeling that actually she was talking about me being racist against white people, which is daft because that would mean I hate my
Mm.
friends and family. Obviously, my wife's from East
Yes.
Africa, but it's suggesting that I have an issue with my own, my own family and a lot of my friends. And it was silly, but I couldn't help thinking that actually she was racist herself and didn't
Okay.
like to take on board the fact that there were people out there that weren't white that could possibly have been more advanced than we are today. That was what she didn't really like. But in the end, a
Yeah.
few people sort of shut her down. But yeah, so yeah,
Mm.
I do wonder sometimes, am I going to get a knock at the door or, but but it's the fear, isn't it, that stops people from putting this information out there, and we can't be scared. We can't live like that.
No,
So
we
I'm just,
can't. Yeah.
yeah,
But I think this is also my opinion very much so. Like in the end, you have to open the door in the middle of the labyrinth, right?
mm,
And you have to rely maybe on this on your spirit guardians. You have to rely on some higher power that has brought you to this point. And some people always seem to respond with anger as soon as their
yes,
own like version of reality is shattered because it's hard to convince people that they've been fooled. They don't want to admit that. So it's almost harder on you for trying to free them and free their
uh,
minds than it is for the establishment that has tried to keep them down in this lower frequency.
it's a
And it is
thankless
very
task.
unfair. It's very unfair. But the job that you're doing is the same job that Jesus had to do in Nazareth. It's the same. It's that we're doing the same thing. And the apostles did it too. And we are warned off that. We are always warned off that that happened. You shouldn't do that. It's going to be dangerous. Don't. But I don't think it is. I think you are protected once you start going down that path, and you will see things fall off you too. Weaknesses, misunderstandings, emotional weakness. Everything will fall off you, and you start to deal with your own trauma, which we all have. We all have trauma. Yeah. We all have things that we had to deal with. Yeah. Neurological pathways that shouldn't be where they are. And as you recalibrate yourself, I think you will benefit as much as anyone else benefits from you, you know.
Yeah,
That's why this is such an exciting journey. And as like whatever your what like everyone has some motive, right? People want to be seen, be people want to structure the narrative, and that's fine. Like I respect that because whatever reason you're here for becomes less and less clear as time goes on. You will realize that you are not actually here for any other reason than because God wants you to be there, and your path Your path is irrelevant after a while. You will forget why you're here. You will forget what your bias was, what your motives were, because this is so powerful, you know. I honestly believe that. And you'll be forgiven, you'll be loved by God because I don't think evil people get very far. I really don't. I think that this is the illusion that Satan tries to spin. Oh, these people are rich, they're wealthy. No, I think they go through hell like you won't believe every
Yes,
day. And it doesn't
yes, I
matter
agree.
how wealthy you think they are. It's usually all minus, And and
Mm.
and and I think that's not you. That's not what God made. God didn't create a financial system. He didn't create, money and currency. He didn't create those things.
It's funny
Those, yeah.
I was just going to say it's funny you say that because I'm sure there'll be some people watching this that don't know much about English football, but
Mm,
over certainly over the last sort of 20 odd years, perhaps one of the more famous names would be Wayne Rooney.
yeah.
Most people watch this will know that for years I was a tattoo artist. I started as a graphic designer and then ended up being a
Mm,
tattoo artist. And I tattooed his physiotherapist. I actually tattooed him. And I said to him, what's it like, spending time with people like Wayne Rooney? He said, well, Wayne Rooney is a brilliant example because, everybody in the country knows who he is. Most people in Europe know who he is. He's famous. He's incredibly wealthy. But what is really interesting is that when he first met him, he said, "What an incredible life you must have. You must be able to go wherever you want. Money's not a problem. Doors open." He said, "I'm the loneliest person you'll ever meet." He said, "Because I've
mm.
got all this money and I'm a celebrity of sorts. I know it's not a brilliant word to use, but you know, I'm a celebrity. I've got this money, and but what I don't know is, does somebody want to be my friend because of me?" Or do they want to
Yeah.
be my friend because of what I have to offer? And he said, and because of that, I spend most of my life on my own. And he said that
Yeah.
Wayne said he was permanently lonely. And this physio, he said to me that he was without a doubt one of the loneliest, saddest people he'd ever met, with an incredible talent and a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the price also of being famous, that you can be famous and loved for a long time, but after a while, the scales kind of change, and your downfall becomes more the most desired thing. And as that,
Mm,
and no matter what you do, you can be the most beautiful, perfect person. I think they actually, these publicists, as they're called, they actually plan on that a star within a certain period of time, if they become too famous, their downfall becomes such a valuable part
mm,
of their career that they almost have to do it, whether they like
yeah.
it or not. And it's usually a mistake they made when they were young. Maybe they did the wrong kind of photo shoot, or they forced themselves on someone, like, or they took drugs in a public place or something. And usually all of that comes back up. And it's almost like this balance, like you have to pay for the time that you spent in heaven, and you have to balance that out now. And I think sometimes they even fake that. They fake some disaster, some embarrassment. They fake being canceled just so that they can control the narrative to some extent. So
Mm,
so I think Amber Heard, Johnny Depp was one of those situations where Amber Heard is signs a contract. She's going to do this and this and this. Johnny Depp is going to get to go to court. It's going to look terrible. He's going to lose a movie deal. But in the end, everything evens out and he carries on with his career and he has this rebirth, right? Like the phoenix out of the fire.
yeah.
So they are using this symbolism, this ancient lore to reinvigorate someone's career, create a fake fall and then a rise, and then the guy's even
Mm,
more famous than he used to be. And it kind of also helped these elites put an end to the whole Me Too movement, when now Johnny Depp one of the biggest stars that everyone loves. Pirates of the Caribbean, even Harry Potter, right? So then everyone loves Johnny Depp, right? I mean, he's got a long career, and then he suddenly falls from grace. You think he's going to be cancelled, but then you find out Amber Heard was recording him. She was lying. Suddenly, all of his ex-girlfriends and wives come out and say he never abused anyone. He was never violent. And I am suspicious now about this because I see everything through a different lens. That these are now these orchestrated fake,
Yeah,
fall from grace and then resurrection. And I
that's it.
think
It
that's
is
what Donald.
biblical.
I think Donald Trump is doing the same thing. He's trying to do this prophecy of being the last president through
Yes.
through various novels that he may have been involved in writing, and then they name their children after important figures. I think Elon Musk did the same thing, and now you have the connection between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And I think this is ancient symbolism. I think it goes back to ancient Greece, ancient Moorish Empire, ancient Egypt. And I think I found a building that is going to blow your mind. And the symbolism is what it's all about. Could I show you some photos?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So this is in America, and I mean, I think everything is on one building. I don't even have to really look for other buildings. So this is the public library in Brooklyn. Um, yeah, so this is the Brooklyn Public Library. Now, I think this is an ancient building that has been cleaned, and I think this goes back to Roman times. I think it's just been cleaned. And I think this is actual gold in the pillars. So the first image here, one of my favorite symbols, can you see the Eye of Horus there?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the
And
first thing
then
I
you have,
spotted, actually.
yeah, it is, right? I think it's always very magnetic because we are looking at our own connection to a God, which is the third eye.
Mm.
And I don't know what he's holding there. That looks like a phasis, maybe a bundle of twigs, but then there's obviously some kind of wand. Can you see that?
Yes.
And I think the magic wand is my new favorite symbol because it's everywhere. The Egyptians had wands in their hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is obviously the wand. And I think if you like, I mean, you can find wands in the hands of ancient Egyptians. So I think the wand, made from some sacred wood, like Hollywood. So
Yes,
this,
it's from the holly tree, isn't it?
yeah, yes, it
Mm.
is. Yeah. So now this is also on the
Ah,
same entrance. This is all on the same entrance. So here we have that the uh you've got the Masonic symbolism. Then you got
yeah.
Moloch, the
Yeah.
owl. And I think maybe I can go this way. This way. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then on top, there's more owls on top of the
Oh,
pillars. This
wow.
is the entrance. This
Mm.
is such a grandiose building. Um, uh, yeah, and
Have you looked into the narrative behind the building, like who they actually state on Wikipedia, for example, who built it and how old it is?
yeah, but I don't think that's true.
Oh no, it
So,
won't be true. No, I'd bet
yeah.
anything that it's not true. But I just wondered if you had, because I imagine that what we don't have is any records of the labour, any records of the stonemasons or the
Hmm.
craftsmen, those sort of artisan skill sets. I bet there's none of those, no reference to where any of the stone was quarried from, nothing to do with the actual production of the building. They'll just give us perhaps when it was built and the name of the architect and maybe somebody involved in the building, but there'll be nothing. There won't even be any hospital records connected with injuries caused on the site during its construction. There's never anything.
Yeah, yeah. So the actual narrative for the Brooklyn Public Library for the construction is that it was actually that the public library is still being constructed and won't be complete until 2028. Yeah. So I think that's the way they got around it
Right.
this time. Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, but it's located on an ancient burial ground. So I think that's why it would be important as a ley line energy center. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not by accident that it's there. And it's
No.
actually linked to a very large star, like a large geometrical star. So the yeah, it says architect Tashiko Mori. Um, it's an Art Deco building. I don't believe Art Deco comes from the 1800s. I think Art Deco and Art Nouveau is all Tartarian architecture. They've just repackaged it for us. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Rococo
Yeah.
or yeah, when you see the all of like in America they had to create these new architectural terms just to justify all of these incredible buildings. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So they're saying here that it was designed to resemble an open book, and the original building was completed in 1941. Yeah, and again, you have the Art Deco reference. Yeah,
Mm.
but I mean, I'm sure it already existed in the 1800s because
Yes.
there are many maps of Brooklyn in like the 1890s. I've got them, so I don't think that's true either. Yeah. So I mean, repainting and cleaning and bleaching
Yeah.
the building is a really good way to make it look
Whitewashing and
new. Yeah,
mm.
yeah. But there's
It
too
is
many of
literally
these. Yeah.
whitewashing, isn't it? Because it's
It is
not just the
literally
buildings, but it's the
and
history and the
symbolically,
culture
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So imagine now what's going to happen when we do look at these buildings with this ancient reference and no longer look at them as something that was built in the 40s. Like
Mm.
if you look at it like that, I think that's when you begin to obviously. So there's a symbol here, all kinds of like sigils.
Mm.
There's the crown. So this must have been. I mean, someone knows what this means and why it's there. Then you have the finger pointing down here
Yeah.
with the triangle. I think that's a reference to to Atlantis. And then you have that looks like a phoenix.
Yes,
I
it
think I have
does.
a bit.
Yeah.
And then you have the beautiful Tartarian dragon.
Oh,
So
right.
just in case you weren't sure what you were looking at.
Bloody hell. That's
And you have the
incredible.
acanthus leaf. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, if I saw this 5 years ago, I wouldn't have known what I was looking at. It was just Art Deco, but now I know what everything means. There you have the Tartarian Empire, because you are in Morocco, and lo and behold, you have the crystallized soul, the as you were saying earlier with the crown jewels.
Yeah.
Looks like Zeus
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
holding up the pineal gland. That's what I
Yeah.
see. I see pineal gland.
Yeah.
There's a giant one in the Vatican, so we know what it basically looks like. And that could even be
Yes.
some more heads there from Italy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there, but how many people actually look at that building and know what's going on, you know?
Yeah. And that's the idea, isn't it? Because it's in plain sight.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, down you get. Sorry, little Arthur wanted to get off my lap, bless him.
So this could be a wolf, I'm not sure, or maybe a cougar or something.
Yeah, difficult to tell, isn't it? Kind of looks like a
So
cougar, doesn't it?
so that might be the original Confederate, the original Confederate symbolism, which is Native American. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, there was also
Oh,
stars. There was also three
wow.
stars. So I
Mm.
think all the stars together might be the fallen angels. Yeah. So there's these massive stars. Okay, I got something else for you. This is going to blow your mind. I think this is part of the prophecy that Donald Trump prescribes to, because this was on the cover of the book, apparently. So I try to do some research to see if anyone else has come up with that. Do you know the Ingersoll Library?
Not the library. I know obviously Ingersoll Lockwood's work, but I don't know if there is
So
a. I did,
Ingersoll Lockwood was based in was or at least it was set within that library. So I know the library is very old. So I can prove that that is not correct what they're telling you about 1941. So there's a book, Ingersoll, but and this is why I'm mentioning Donald Trump taking over Greenland. What he's trying to do is bring about the end of the world, um, or this clone that might be Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
So Brooklyn Public Library is Ingersoll Bergman's cover of his book because it has the same symbols. 5 by 3, 15 demons, right? So you have one demon, like the king of the Beelzebub. You have Neptune, which is actually a demon, not a positive entity. And now, yeah, so Ingersoll Lockwood is that's where he got the symbol from. Yeah, those symbols from his book.
Right. Right.
So this is
So
connected
with
to a
the
much older theory. Yeah, much older narrative. Yeah.
And with the Ingersoll Lockwood novels, I mean, most people will know these. I often wonder whether or not
Mm.
they were written when we're told they were, because he was a lawyer, wasn't he? And nobody really bought the books. If we follow the
Yeah.
narrative, the books weren't popular when they were first published. But I often wonder if they're actually far more recent and a backstory was created to suggest that they were a lot older and this is fulfilling prophecy, especially not just
Yeah.
the adventures of Baron Trump but more the last president. I wonder if that is actually all part of either some sort of massive marketing campaign so people think, look, it was
Yeah.
prophesized Trump was supposed to be where he is right now and is the last president, or is Trump following a script that is very, very old?
Or does Trump not know what's going on and has suddenly realized that he's fulfilling a prophecy without knowing what's going on? That's what I'm starting to
Yes.
realize. Because there's no way he
Yeah.
planned that stuff himself.
No, I
Okay,
don't I don't think so.
I'm going to show you something. Blow your socks off. Ready? Watch this. This is the cover for the. I'm going to try to show you. Uh, something might go wrong because when I usually do this kind of when I show something really important, people t things tend to go wrong.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I
this
know that one.
I believe because it says Brooklyn Public Library. I believe that
Right.
this was part of the this was the original name of the library. So okay, the Ingersoll Library is the actual original name for the Brooklyn Library, and it is very old, part of the original Moorish era.
That's incredible.
That is insane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got goosebumps when I realized because that's an etching of the front door, bro. That's an etching of the
Yeah.
front door. And for some reason, they decided to put Brooklyn Public Library and use it as some kind of flyer. I've no idea how this happens, but I don't think anyone's connected that, even though it's so obvious to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've never heard this before. And I've been rattling on about Ingersoll Lockwood for
No, nobody's
years.
made this. I don't think anyone's made this connection actually, to be honest, because
No,
I've never heard
no,
anyone post about it. But
no.
obviously now people are going to post about it after they watch this episode. But yeah, no, I'm kind of used to that now. So yeah, no, that's fascinating because it
Yeah, well,
that
what you'd
you
like to
could
say
prove
is
that the
that it
books
was,
are really old, and it also proves that the library's name was changed, and it also proves that it wasn't built in, you know, the Art
yeah.
Deco era in the 40s. So
I've seen information over the years to suggest that New York was originally called Troy.
yes, yeah, yes, you were right. You told me that last year. Uh, um, yeah, you were 100% right. Troy was conquered and fell. And the one of the kings or one of the noblemen of Troy was called Brutus, and he escaped. Went came to Britain. He had to kill a lot of giants. Apparently, this has all been written down into history. And the capital was York. The original capital of the UK was York. So yeah, so you have to connect those two things. So the capital of England, let me just check that, make sure I'm right about that, was originally York, So he called it okay. So the mainstream narrative says that it was the Viking kingdom Jorvik. So York comes from the Viking Jorvik, 9th century, which is only 200 years after the Moors conquered Spain. So we could be talking about the Moors calling the capital Jorvik or the kingdom Jorvik. Because back then everything was smaller, kingdoms were smaller, countries were
Yeah.
smaller. Yeah. So and then Edward the First moved the government in 1298, and yeah, then it became the Kingdom of Northumbria today, which we know as Northumbria, right? So this was the power base of the UK, Jorvik. So he basically called it Jorvik, which means the Vikings were originated not from Northern Europe, but from the United States.
Yeah.
So New York is actually Old Troy, and Old York, the original capital, Jorvik, is actually the new Troy. Can you see? So it's inverted back to
Right.
front.
Yes.
But I only did this research because you told me that already. I don't know if you remember. You told me that last year that yeah, the Troy York, yeah. So I think the Romans then called it Londinium, but
Yeah.
so now we call it but if the names change, the location doesn't necessarily have to change, you know.
No,
Yeah.
no. And this is something that's been done, I think, to add confusion. It's like I was talking to someone this morning, and I said to them that my mother's father was from Crimea, and I stressed Crimea. It's not Ukraine. He was from Crimea, you know,
Yeah.
and changing the names on maps. It just breaks down. It breaks it down a little bit more,
It's
doesn't
cool.
it?
Yeah.
It sort of almost by giving a new giving a city or a town a new name or a country a new name, it disengages a little bit further, doesn't it? It sort of like
Yeah.
ruptures the storyline for that particular area, doesn't it? It just sort
Yeah.
of severs that connection.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you look for like countries or cities that have more than one name that don't seem connected, like Netherlands, Holland, Dutch people,
Mm,
like that makes no sense. But then
mm,
when you realize Dutch is actually Deutsch and probably Germanic tribes ruled that entire area, and probably these star forts were made by the original, a royal, Moors that conquered the entire world. But yeah, when you look at why does Britain have the name Britain, United Kingdom? Then you have England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, actually different countries. So yeah, when you realize that there is an origin to the name Britain, it used to be called Britonum, and in the 9th century they made maps of the Historia Britonum, and it was ruled by the Trojan king Brutus. So, so how many people in the UK know that Britain was named that after the king who came from Troy, and that the real Troy was not actually what we think is modern day Greece, I believe, but or Macedonia, but it's actually New York, and they simply shifted and removed the Roman and then kind of changed the name a little bit from the original, which was most likely a Native American tribe,
mm.
you know. So the Creek Indians were the Greeks, and then you start to realize that Troy was actually in York, and that New York is actually not new. Why do we have to call it new? Well, if you
Yeah.
call it new, you can do anything you want.
Mm.
You don't owe your empire or your city to anyone else. And I think it's about land ownership. It's about, taking
Yes.
away yeah, taking the structures, the buildings, because some of the buildings definitely are very old. One of my favorite buildings in New York is the cathedral. I've posted it a few times. So the oldest I think is in New York is the there's a cathedral that is pretty damn fascinating. It's called St. Patrick's Cathedral. Have you ever seen that building?
Yes.
Oh, you have, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've posted it many times because it's, yeah. I mean, there's even victory arches in New York,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
parades that went through them, and like 100 years ago, where the earliest photographs. But photography existed hundreds of years before we were told. I don't believe the narrative of how TVs were invented. Have you heard that?
No, no, go for it.
Okay, so there's this theory here that the TV was invented by a farmer uh, who I don't believe had electricity. Anyway, he was called. He was 14 years old apparently. And yeah, this is insane. Like I'm not making this up. Like people can Google this themselves. Okay. So this is the most insane thing. So he grew up on a farm in Idaho. Now we people believe that, and they taught children that at school. That's you know. Anyway, yeah. So this is a fascinating one because I don't think they had electricity back then in rural Idaho. So I think they were like seeing what they could get away with because they simply didn't know where the TV came from. They just found a TV, which is
Yeah.
almost more amazing than the narrative, the story. Um, and anyway, okay, so there's a 14-year-old boy. He was plowing a potato field. I'm not making this up. Okay, this sounds crazy. Okay, but we have to do. I have to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's almost as bad as the kite and the key. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Should I show a photo of it?
Yeah,
I'll show a
sure.
photo. I like sharing photos, and I haven't been able to always do that. So I'm going to share a photo. Okay. I'm going to tell the story in a very nice, patronizing way. And okay. Yeah. So television was conceived by Philo Farnsworth. Um, Philo, yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to think if that name has any particular like meaning. Okay, so here's Philo Farnsworth. He is a farmer. He's 14 years old. He's plowing his dad's field, and yeah, he gets like this amazing idea. Um, yeah, I don't. Okay, okay. Let's try to. Okay, let me show the photo. Okay. Yeah. So he's plowing his field, and here's a picture of him. And yeah, so oh, this is him. Now, what he has in his hand is actually very important for creating free energy. So if you have one of those old TVs, try to
Hmm.
take that part of it off because that's the expensive part. So yeah, so he is plowing his field. He's only 14 years old. It's 1921. I don't think he would have had electricity in his farm, but maybe he was lucky. He did have electricity in 1921. And he was plowing a potato field, and he envisaged scanning images line by line. So,
Oh, okay.
so he's plowing the field. He has no background in uh, chemistry, physics, or any of the sciences. And he's plowing a potato field. He envisaged scanning images line by line, much like the rows he was plowing. So much like
Oh,
that. So
dear.
he later developed the first working all electronic television. So we've gone from plowing straight to inventing the first television. Now, the farm boy idea is wonderful because in 1921, he's 14 years old, and he realized that if images could be broken down into lines and sent through wires, he could transmit pictures, a concept that formed the basis for modern all electronic TVs.
That is absolute bullshit, isn't it? I mean, I was going to say you
The
couldn't
worst
make that
one.
up, but they did.
You,
And
they did.
it's interesting that he's a farmer as well, because that's the backstory behind a lot of the architects credited with American architecture, what we
Yeah.
would call Tartarian. Um, if you dig into them, there are so many of them, started out on a farm, working on the family farm. It's incredible.
Because that's what everyone was doing. So that
Yeah, they haven't got anything else, have they?
there's nothing else you can say. I mean,
Mm,
there's no Americans in European colleges and universities, and there simply weren't supposed to be any in
mm,
the United States. But if this man was involved in the TV, I guarantee you he was in a Moorish university that existed, but that history has been removed. If
yeah,
he actually did invent anything, and it looks like there's a man holding something that he found, and we are supposed to think that that's a farm boy, but I think he went to a Moorish university. If that was indeed the inventor of the TV, he would have been at a Moorish university in America studying this.
yeah.
And sometimes there's a lot of photo editing back then too. I think they had computers, Photoshop, everything.
I
Yeah.
think so
So,
too. Yeah.
so I mean, his family struggled financially, but somehow it says they had 160 patents. I've no idea how a farm
Wow.
family, yeah.
Wow.
So they've attributed 160 different inventions to this one man. It's just like when they attribute, those competitions for architects building these massive
Yes.
structures, and they attribute in the end accidentally probably because they're not keeping record of their own falsehoods. So it's like hundreds of buildings built within 2 years uh,
Mm,
in in the United States. Like Michelle Gibson did that video the other day about these castles, gigantic Moorish castles you will never see unless you follow her, basically. Like these massive castles, and they're all attributed to a guy who wanted to win who fell in love with Alhambra Palace in Spain and started building. You can't do that. That's centuries of knowledge. Some
mm.
of that is secret knowledge that they don't just give to anyone within architectural schools to create these vestibules and alcoves. But apparently, TV is one of the greatest inventions of this human race, once again, invented by a farmer in Idaho, who I guarantee would not have had electricity.
No,
So, yeah, yeah.
that's
But apparently,
incredible.
he's another self-taught inventor who stole some great, Moorish inventions. So yeah, really, really fascinating that one. I think it's one of the best ones. Yeah. So apparently, there was some problems with the patent office. All of this is
Yeah.
unnecessary. You're trying to find out who invented something, and you have to read through paragraphs of the U.S. Patent Office struggling to understand his sketches or not allowing him to demonstrate because he was too young, and all of this. It's just I don't believe any of that anymore, and I don't think anyone
No,
should. And
no, I totally agree. I tot
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
looking
pretty
into a
much.
bit of a sort of um uh, well, sidetracking slightly, but I was looking into armor. Maybe a
Mm,
year or two ago, and then more closely last year, I started thinking, well, actually, what I'm looking at really is a Faraday cage for someone
yeah.
being full, because you couldn't ride a horse with one. You couldn't go into battle. The weight of them was ridiculous. You had zero visibility, and of course, most people would die from heat stroke. You just having one of those on with very poor ventilation, and then obviously in between you
Yeah.
and the armor, you've got another layer.
Yes. Yeah.
The heat of it, the weight of it, it's ridiculous. There's no way those were worn to battle. And there are signs that
Mm.
children wore them too, and not just ceremonially, but actually there are old suits of armor for children that have signs of wear and tear, actual damage to them. So
Yeah.
I
Mm.
started looking into them a little bit more closely, and then I looked at the dimensions of them. And there is most suits of armor from a certain period. A lot of the suits
Mm.
of armor, the waist is 18 inches. 18 inches. Well, that would only work with us if we removed some ribs and didn't have an intestine. So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and also the suits the suits of armor were originally really really bright colors. They were polished into sort of almost you're looking like a peacock feather. You know, they were incredibly
Yeah.
bright,
Yeah.
and now they're all silver. Um, the joints as well. If you look at a typical suit of armor, if you look where the knee joints and elbow joints are, they're not where ours are. So you've got this really narrow
Mm.
waist, incredible weight, zero visibility. You can't breathe. It took someone else to put it on and remove it for you. Um,
Yeah.
a- and then the joints, and like from the 1500s, the suits of armor, if we were to put one on and try to move our legs to bend our knee, it would snap your kneecap in half. Um, and so it dawned on me that whatever was wearing armor, I mean, it's there smack bang in our faces. If I can't put a suit of armor on for somebody the same height as me, the one that would fit me height wise,
Yeah.
because I have ribs and a stomach, and
Mm.
also I wouldn't be able to bend my limbs to actually be able to move or physically do anything. Then whoever
Yeah.
was wearing those suits of armor wasn't us. They weren't us.
No, they weren't us. No, no, no. They were actually I know this is gonna sound weird, but they were actually to a large extent created by a specific species of worm. Yeah. A hybrid kind of worm human
Right.
initially.
Well, that
Now
kind of
the
ties in with what I've been looking at because I know that it
yeah.
wasn't that they just weren't human. There's no possible way that whatever was wearing that was a human because
They weren't, no, they weren't initially humans. I mean, there are some that are very obviously electromagnetic, and then the human body would be the battery. But there were
yes,
also a lot of species of people who wanted to pretend they had a head when they didn't, because they wanted to fit in with modern society. There
right,
were also some that looked like dogs.
mm,
These are known as the dogmen or
yeah,
cynocephali of ancient Rome. They were also worshipped in Rome, and they're also worshipped in Christendom, especially the Orthodox Russian uh, Catholicism. They worshipped a particular saint called Saint Christopher, who
yes,
was a dog-headed man.
mm,
And these people wanted to hide their faces because after a while, the predominant species were the traditional Homo sapien that
mm,
me and you uh, are part of that empire or that lineage. But Saint Christopher was a Cynocephali, and he was one of those people that comes from a different Nephilim line in India. Um, so he or people like him, warriors, these dogmen used to have to encase their faces in these larger facial structures. Now, those still exist today in a museum in Prague. The dog helm, if you like, the dog curious, and they had much longer arms and legs.
yes,
Um, we would call that like a werewolf today, but I don't think there's that transition during the full moon. I think that's a fictional mythology.
yeah,
But as crazy as it sounds, a higher frequency dog does walk upright like you and me. Yeah, yeah. So those did exist. Also, the worm people um, are incredibly difficult to find. But there is a sculpture that I have discussed before of a worm armor sculpture of
oh, is it
a
breaking
king,
is it breaking through is the image the where
possibly.
this sort of worm type sort of creature is breaking through it.
Yes, he's kind of peeking out the front, and
Mm,
either he was frozen in place and then a sculpture was made, because I've realized that a lot of these sculptures are not actually carved traditionally.
no,
But
mm,
but there are so many different types of these. So this is the traditional dog helm.
Yeah.
These are all over Europe. These are easy to find online. So if you know what you're looking for, but there's an old story of British knights also being these worm people. Um, and if there's truth associated with it, usually it's harder to find. But they used to want a maiden's tears to be stroked on their armor. That's all they ever. That's the only connection they had with female human women. And this is a very old tradition that knights have the tears of a maiden on a handkerchief, just soaked on a handkerchief, and they would hold that to their faces. That was their kind of thank you for protecting her, because in the end, their only real contribution to the medieval world was to defend, and they would hide within this armor. And we now struggle with parasites. I think everyone does. I think the majority of people that die of old age are actually dying of parasites. And these are like smaller versions of these creatures. And they were able to control armor and move about. There are many stories of those. There's a sculpture there in Germany where there is a worm knight. And yeah, I mean, obviously those simply don't exist anymore. But we could be related to them. I mean, our faces are not don't aren't really easily connected to other species, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a theory that we are kind of connected to these worm knights in some way, but they used to hide within the armor so that people wouldn't see their faces. Yeah,
That makes
but
sense, doesn't it?
yeah, but there is an electromagnetic element. Like,
Mm.
uh, I mean, there is one very famous suit of armor that is basically, as you said, a Faraday cage that has sort of these antennas on that are like cathodes and anodes, and then you also have the material that they're made of, and this kind of Fibonacci sequence to
Hmm.
heighten it. Sometimes they had actually pockets of electrical wiring in them, and yeah, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating topic. Yeah, I have spoken about this
Oh,
this one before.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Now there's a
incredible.
real one and there's a fake one. Now this is the real one. There is one that is similar, that is fake and modern, but this is actually a very old one.
It's incredible. And you
Um,
can see here what I mean about, first of all, if you look at where the elbows are, but look at the
yeah,
waist. I mean, the waist itself, it's too narrow. There is no way we could wear something like that. You wouldn't be able to
yeah, it
breathe.
is strange. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't look like something you'd expect. Yeah.
yeah. And
Well, I
just,
think they were enhancing their physical prowess in battle through electromagnetic engineering. And I think it was way above or way beyond even memories. Like the idea of tattooing yourself is to hold memories under your skin, right?
yeah.
And I think tattooing was invented by the Tartarians. Even the Tartarian kings of Russia had tattoos of dragons. Even Tsar Nicholas had a tattoo of a dragon he got in China, which was around about the fall of the Tartarian Empire. So I mean, they had to have these marks to connect them to the empire,
Yeah,
and I don't think you'd create this kind of intricate carving without it having some effect on the actual battle itself. And it's just something that we don't understand. We don't really
yeah.
understand,
I mean, if you were
but.
confronted by
Mm.
somebody wearing that, or a group of people,
Yeah,
a
it would
whole,
impress. Yeah, you'd be impressed.
yeah, and
You
you
think
would
I don't have a chance.
exactly, exactly. You're also, at the moment you see them, psychologically, the battle's already over.
Yes, it does help actually psychologically. Yes, that's true. And I think you see that with the Japanese too. The Japanese did also do that. They put like animal skins and over their faces and painted themselves into these clowns.
Hmm.
And I think the clown was also what the Nephilim did, the fallen angels painted their faces like clowns. So the fear of clowns is very much linked to the old Hindu gods that are dancing about, have these blue faces,
Yeah.
because they wanted to try to. I think they were very creative. They gave us a lot of these ideas like war paints, armor, all of that, metal work, all of that came
Mm.
from these demonic entities. But when you look at something and it doesn't make sense, I believe it's almost always a connection to the old world. So I'm not sure that, for example, that extra space in front of your face was for
Yeah.
a human.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Because
And
how
again,
difficult is that to make in the 1600s?
well, it's interesting you say that because if you actually look into it, which I've been doing, and I'm sort of getting ready to sort of share the information, just on Facebook, but I'm still sort of,
Yeah,
dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You can see there clearly the waist, how narrow the waist is once again. But
yeah,
but but what's really interesting in the 1500s there was apparently in Germany a whole battalion kitted out with suits of armor, and there were approximately 10,000 soldiers are wearing armor, significant armor, not just a few plates
yeah,
here and there and a helmet. Um, but where they say it took place, there is no evidence to suggest that 10,000 suits of armor were made anywhere. There's no remains of anything. You imagine the production process, the you know
yeah,
the temperatures that you would need, the workforce you would need, and actually it would take more. If you look at some of these famous battles that have taken place in history, where we're told blacksmiths made these suits of armor, they were hammered out by
yeah.
hand.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Yeah,
It
yeah,
is because the production involved in doing that, just one particular army, is more, and this particular one that took place in Germany, which I've been looking into, where there is no evidence whatsoever that anything was
yeah,
ever mined, dug, burnt, nothing at all. There's no
yeah,
evidence of anything. There's no remains of
yeah.
anything like that. You think the trees that you'd have to fell to
Right.
fire
Yeah.
the furnaces to do this.
I think it's harder to make a suit of armor than it is a locomotive. Like
Well, they
I
reckon
have.
that.
When did they decide that somehow there's a difference between the 1800s and the 17 or the 1600s? All of that is a lie. That there was no history. Those things happened at the same time.
Mm,
A suit of armor is harder to make than a steam locomotive.
mm.
It's just more difficult. It's more intricate. There's more engineering that goes into it. It's not that our history is a lie, it's that we were too stupid to find out what the real history was until today.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I believe. I mean, how
that's
can you have a Japanese samurai in full
I
armor
know.
in 1867 trying to fight some shogunate, right?
Mm,
Then you have these Ronin running around with new armor because now they don't have a shogun anymore. So their final duty is to kill the man that killed their king. And then you have the first steam railway in Japan in 1872.
yeah,
Shut
yeah,
up, bro. That's impossible.
yeah.
There's no Shimbashi station without a samurai waiting to go on a steam train. Have you ever seen that in a film? I bet they don't want to put that in a film. That would be
No,
a far better film, you know?
yeah, yeah. You're
So you
exactly
have
right.
Tokyo to Yokohama line, and then supposedly they already invaded Taiwan, but Taiwan had a railway line going from Tainan all the way to the Kaohsiung Harbor and back. So why would the Japanese build a railway in Taichung and Shinzu in Taiwan when they themselves don't have their own finalized, Osaka, infrastructure? And then suddenly an elevator pops up in the middle of Japan. They have an elevator already, and they got that wrong too. Yeah. So these are people just making up the story. I created this like split screen just to show how ridiculous our
Mm,
history is, because
mm,
that's less than 10 years difference.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, absolutely. And what I was saying about the armor, this particular battle that I was researching, where there were
Yeah.
10,000 knights in shining
Yeah.
armor, the
Yeah.
production involved in that process of actually manufacturing or producing the armor for all of the troops, is more
Yeah.
than the combined effort for the Second World War.
I believe it. I believe it. I don't see how anyone can argue with that. I mean, have you seen the level of they how can they not have invented the umbrella, but they're inventing these fanning armor shoulder blades that move and
Yeah.
everything, and
Mm,
come on,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I think we have a good case for rewriting our entire history.
Do you think we'll see it? Do you think we'll
We will
see
see
that
what.
happen? The rewriting
Yes.
of our history? Do you
I
think
think
we'll see
it's
it in
I
our
think the
lifetime?
Third World War is a war built on with ChatGPT, on Facebook, with people like you, me streaming, because no one's going to go to war if they realize that everything was a lie. Because if that was a lie, and then you have obviously other medical
Mm,
lies, I mean, no, no, I don't think there's a chance. And by the way, Guy Anderson, it didn't just end with putting armor on your head. Okay. Do you know what else they were putting armor on?
well, animals, horses.
Horses,
Mm,
wild boars, they were riding goats, like,
mm,
and they built perfect armor for those. So there's some other technique that does not involve the Blackmore Smith, you know.
mm,
Why are they called blacksmith anyway? Because in the end, you have to be a little bit honest, right? I mean, this is an empire we don't understand that is gone. It's gone.
mm. Yeah.
And the ancestors have no idea. I want to say we because these were white people who did this. They severed the link to such an extent that you can ask a Moor walking down the street and they won't even know that they're a Moor. That's
Yes.
that's the terrible thing,
Yes.
you know?
I've
And
had
we
that
don't know that
conversation.
we were one empire. So the whole one empire thing, this Klaus Schwab thing, wasn't actually a negative thing. This is why the devil is repurposing positive things in the past. And they came
Mm,
down, we were building towers of Babel everywhere and suddenly our languages switched and now we can't do that stuff anymore. And I think our
yeah.
language was not a spoken language with an alphabet. I think it was
Hmm.
symbolism. I think we
Symbolism.
were
Yeah.
talking like humma, hui, hui, I don't think we were, and we think that's backwards like unga bunga. It's not. It's far more superior when you're actually just on a frequency that is much
Mm,
higher than the Rockefellers allow us now to obviously
yeah.
use. But we think
Yeah.
we're stupid when we're doing these baby noises like ungang unga. But actually, well, oh, you could express so much more with that. It's not
Mm,
limited to definitions and meanings. But
yeah.
but no, it was not just the people. It was everything. They were like doing like the full horse armor, and the horse was able to
Yeah.
move. Like it's not.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely
far superior than
impossible.
anything I've seen in the modern world. I don't know
Mm,
like why we attribute this to some ancient past. We shouldn't.
no. And a horse
You
couldn't
know?
wear that. There's absolutely no way a horse could wear that and
Yeah.
actually survive
Yeah.
it. It wouldn't be able to move. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
even if you were, if your job was to make armor
I think
for
that's Holy Roman
horses,
Empire, right? Is that Romulus and Remus? Yeah.
yeah. But
That's crazy.
look at it. I mean, the weight on that horse. What are we talking there? A
Yeah.
suit of armor could be like 80 pounds. What's
Could
the
it be some
horse
kind
weigh?
of liquid mercury or some metal that was,
Yes.
yeah,
But
maybe,
look at the,
some
you
very
know,
thin.
the
Yeah.
the neck on the horse itself. I mean, that to actually be able to create that so it can move.
Do you
All of
think that
those
these weren't
independent
weapons?
joints. Hmm?
Yeah. Do you think these weren't weapons for hitting people and cutting people up? Do you think there's something else there as well?
I
That
think the
was,
sword might have been added. I think they were
yeah, I
using
think it could be
direct energy weapons.
electromagnetic. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that is kind of what we would call a wand.
I think they were ones. Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah,
I haven't made that connection. Yeah, that's great.
yeah, I think that's what they were. They certainly weren't going around trying to. What would be the point in hitting somebody that's wearing a suit of armor with a sword? You're going to
Yeah.
dent it or ching, scratch it. You're not going to take someone's head off that's wearing a suit of armor.
Yeah, I think all of this was ceremonial though as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, they're the waist. I mean, not
Look
only
at
is
that
it,
thing. Yeah.
and
That's
look
not a
at where the
human.
elbow joints are in comparison to where the wrist is. The elbow's
And the
too high up.
shoulder. Yeah,
Shoulder,
yeah.
yeah, it's all wrong, isn't
But
it?
just look at this, man. This is supposed to be like the 11th or 12th century. Like, what the
Mm,
hell?
yeah.
Looks like a radiator or something.
does,
I
doesn't it?
think I think we are so stupid. Human race is just so I think we're so dumb.
And
I think we
what
just
sort of
think
visibility
everything's
would you
about
have?
killing, right? Everything's about death.
Yes, yes, it is.
That's
Yeah,
not a human face. What the hell is
no,
that? Look at that. That's like something out of Lord of the Rings. But this is a historical armor. This is
yeah.
not.
But what if,
Okay.
and this is kind of something I keep returning to, what
Yeah.
if what was inside that? I mean, we've seen Rise of the Clones, Attack of the
Yeah.
Clones, sorry, the Star Wars film.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
what was inside those wasn't actually a life force at all, but actually was
Mm.
robotic?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they found wires in some of these,
Mm.
for a fact.
So they
I
strip all of that
I know that.
out, and we're left with the suit of
Yeah.
armor, and what was in it was basically a robot, some sort of android robot.
Yeah, I mean, do you know that penguins have the largest pineal gland of any creature?
No.
And they've been farming them to take their pineal glands.
Oh, yes, I've
Yeah.
heard about that, but I didn't know it was the largest.
So I have a feeling that we are just the first to wake up, and in the end, maybe all animals will, and
Mm,
it's just a it's we're just in one point on a timeline where we are now abusing our power, and then we lose
mm,
our frequency, and then the next, mammal or reptile gets a chance. And I think sometimes there's an overlap, like some reptiles are still able to consciously communicate and remember and are aware of their own existence. And then if we mess it up, if we lose it, or if the die kind of turns, or if some kind of balance is lost, then we
mm.
lose that frequency, and then the next invention or the next creature is allowed to rule us.
Yeah.
And then we become the slaughterhouse,
Yes.
inhabitants,
Yes.
and I really feel like and I think feel like there's always this demonic entity that is trying to push us into the bad, the negative, just to see if we are able to, in the end, find our own sort of higher self.
Mm.
And I think if we don't find that, we may lose it. We may lose our frequency. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I mean, because I think there's some evil connected to it. But I don't know if the evil is just past creatures, past lineages that lost their power, and they're kind of jealous at us for not having been pulled down on all fours again like we used to be. Because we used to be hairy, we used to be on all fours. Like the story of Nebuchadnezzar, who got to experience that past. God cursed him, and he had to walk like an animal on all fours and eat, hunt and eat wild things. And I think that that's the game, and I that's why I think I can confidently say that not all humans are human. I think some of them have come back here with all kinds of weird, like cloning activities, or
Mm.
to and I think this armor was theirs, and they have now lost that power, but they obviously had great skills, great
Yeah. The
uh
level of work, the
yeah.
craftsmanship is just insane. And we're being told that was
Yeah.
all hammered by hand.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we have to look at the armor the way we do the architecture. That it's
Yes.
something we don't understand, that came from a civilization that was far more advanced than we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
totally agree. Well, thank you, Charles, for joining me again
Cool.
today.
Okay.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
really
lovely to chat with you.
appreciate it.
There's always fun things to, yeah, discuss.
Yeah, and we should maybe do this once a month because you're always
Yeah.
researching things, and
No,
often
I have
we
always got something to talk about. I'm researching the connection between airships and modern airplanes, because that jump doesn't make sense. So maybe
no,
we
it
talk about that next
doesn't.
time. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be brilliant. Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's
yeah, I'd
fascinating.
really like
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to do that. Uh,
Because there were airplanes that for no reason were suddenly removed, almost like they couldn't recreate them. Like they can't recreate the moon landings. I think the same
mm,
thing happened with the Concorde. Suddenly, this amazing futuristic plane was just removed from our narrative, almost like it didn't never existed. But it was a very beautiful, safe, fast flight. It was almost superhuman. And I don't know why that suddenly disappeared. Even because I was very sad as a kid. Like suddenly there's no Concorde, and I was like, I wanted to fly on one day,
Yeah.
and
I was fortunate enough
yeah.
to go in one, but only
Oh, you
actually,
were? Okay.
yeah, my dad worked for he was on the board of directors for an industrial paint manufacturer. They were like a
Mm.
big company, and they were actually the people that supplied the paint. And there was a
Oh,
problem. There was a problem, and I went with him. I think my mother was unwell at the time. I went with him, and I remember stood in the cockpit, and then we stood on the wing, and the guy
oh,
in charge was quite happy for me to be there, but because
okay.
I think because my dad was a director, they weren't and they hadn't just sent somebody from the office, they'd actually sent someone from the main board.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he was just pleased that my dad was taking it seriously, or the company was, and the fact that he'd
Yeah.
brought me along, I think he kind of it made my dad perhaps seem a bit more human. I don't know, but
Okay.
yeah, I never got to fly in it. But of course, it all ended in France, didn't it? In Paris, and
Yeah.
with what appears to be a staged event.
I think so. And I think I think I have a good idea as to why it was removed. Yeah. Certain technology that I've discovered that is connected to this growing metal synthetically. I think it's connected to that. I think it was too obvious that the technology, which is very complicated, and I'm not a rocket scientist, but I think I know what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think it's
Oh,
connected to ancient buildings. I think it's connected to Indian like Burmanas. And I really I think that this is like the biggest thing. Yeah. That there was simply like with the Concorde, the whole thing shouldn't be able to fly. Yeah. And the fact that it does means that I think we got some ancient magic there, Tartarian magic. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
Well,
trying to actually be more scientific and have more because I have millions of theories, but to actually prove it because um people don't want you to know
yes.
how they flew,
Mm,
and that's the reason why they had to stage an event and get rid of them. Same with the
mm,
Hindenburg, also
yes.
staged explosives and get rid of them because even if someone told you this is how an airship flies, it would not make sense.
Yeah.
And then you realize that we're talking about an empire that incorporated, India, Japan, yeah, uh,
Mm.
um, Germany. For some reason, Germany comes up a lot.
It
I think
does,
most of the
doesn't it?
people were speaking German. I don't think
Mm.
Germany. I don't think German comes from Germany. I don't think English comes from England as well. Yeah, yeah.
Well, we
So,
often
but
say
yes,
English is Germanic, don't we? We often refer to English as being a Germanic language.
well, I mean, it is connected. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
German, French, like German is closer to Aramaic than Paleo, Hebrew, and Yiddish, and then English is almost the complete opposite. Yeah,
It is.
which is another thing that I want
That's
to do
another
one day.
rabbit hole. Yeah,
That's another
yeah.
rabbit hole because that's all numerology and
Yeah,
yeah,
it kind of
inverted
shouldn't
Hebrew.
exist, should it? It shouldn't really exist. It's almost like someone's tricked us into speaking like this.
Yeah, but before you go, winning isn't everything. Have you heard this?
No, winning isn't everything. And where are you going with this?
Well, it's a thing I'm doing sometimes. Okay, it's some of my research. Okay, winning isn't everything. Have you heard the phrase? Someone
Yeah.
will pat you on the back, say, winning isn't everything, especially if
y-
you've lost.
Yes, yes. My dad used to say that if you came second, you were officially the first person to lose.
Right. So, yeah, but
In a
people who get
race.
second are
Mm,
often more emotionally affected and traumatized than people who are third.
mm,
Yeah. For that reason, I think it's an instinctive built-in thing. Like you could
mm.
have won. Whereas third,
Yes.
oh well, you tried. It's almost human psychology.
Yeah.
But the original saying is not winning isn't everything. It's winning isn't everything. Winning is the only thing. That's the full phrase.
Ah, now that I didn't know the second part of that.
I know that's insane, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
basically saying it's the only thing. It's not everything. It's the
Mm,
only thing. So you're looking at it differently. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I also found out that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, which I have heard before.
yeah.
But it's actually the full saying is imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. that mediocrity can pay to greatness.
Right. It is when you
So
hear the other half of
pretty
these
cool.
these that it really makes it makes far more sense, doesn't it, when you hear the bit that we don't normally use.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you kind of know that that was the original
Mm.
saying, and yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you
Cool.
again, Charles.
Okay.
What time is it there?
Oh, I don't know. We were looking at like 1 a.m. Yeah, so
Is it? Oh, crikey. Oh,
1:30, 1.
oh,
Yeah.
bless you. Oh, that is late. Well,
No, no, no. It's not for me. I'm yeah. I'm night owl. Yeah,
yeah,
I've always been. Yeah,
a
that's
night
when all
monarch.
my ideas seem to come at night. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
but
I'm the same. I've got notepads
that's
around
when I'm
me.
like, whoa, I got to write that down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've currently got one, two, three, four, five notepads on the go, and
Nice. Yeah,
one's near the monitor for YouTube, one's by the bed, yeah, and one in my pocket when I'm
it's
out and
nice
about.
reading old notes. It's a really
Yeah, I
good
keep them
feeling.
all. I do keep them all.
It's like a football album or let's say photo album, right? So
Mm.
yeah,
It is, yeah, and it's nice because
yeah,
if ever I lost all the information that I type out when I'm writing, if I ever lose that, I've still got it in my notebooks. But just as
cool,
an
cool.
example, here's just three of them that I've got on the go at the moment.
Oh, nice ones. Okay, you got nice leather bound ones. Good.
Yeah, little ones. Yeah, right, they tend to be Christmas presents. What should we get the old
Yeah.
fart for Christmas? Get him another notebook. Yeah. Anyway, my friend, thank you
Well,
once again, Charles. I do
thank you
appreciate
very
you giving
much.
up your time, and I do hope you
Yeah.
get some sleep.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, yeah, if we could do it monthly,
Yes, let's do
it's a
it.
very good idea
Yeah,
because it's going to help us like focus on stuff. Because
yeah.
sometimes if you don't talk about things, it can be hard to think.
Yeah, and if there's
But
anything
yeah,
that we've sort of touched on that people are interested in, then just everyone
mm,
just put in the comments, type in the comments what you would like to
yeah,
hear more from Charles, and we'll do that. So there you go. It's an opportunity for you to say to Charles, let's find out more about, and we'll cover that next time.
yeah. Cool. Thank you very much, Guy, for having me on.
Thank you. It's a
Wonderful
pleasure.
chatting with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm happy how
thank
we found
you.
each other through the internet.
Yeah, so
So
am I. So am
cool.
I. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
take care. Bye for now.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye.